The Holler Kings, where the horror's southern fried.
Hello, it's me, Craig.
And it's me, Adam.
And we're the Holler Kings.
The motherfucking Holler Kings.
Thank you for joining us. What's the movie we're going to talk about today?
We will be talking about the movie Wrong Turn 2021? The remake.
Reboot.
Oh, requel, reimagining.
Yes, from
whatever
2021.
the fuck.
Wouldn't have found if we would have stayed on the trail. The waterfall, the cliff. What is that?
I saw someone. I saw someone.
They said they would be the foundation on which a new nation would be built.
From every mound, let freedom ring.
This was my pick, so you have me to blame. I actually heard about this from Patton Oswalt. He had mentioned on his podcast that he was really surprised that people slept on it, that it kind of came and went, and he had rediscovered it a little later, because obviously this did come out in 2021, and so we're doing another year anniversary style podcast about a recent movie. So I was interested because Patton is from Virginia originally, or he is from Virginia. And that kind of made me think, oh, well, he has some kind of Southern roots. And so he saw a movie that's set in Virginia and it worked for him.
Right.
And so I thought that would be appropriate for the Holler Kings. And there you have it.
That's it. Thanks for joining us.
Yes. Thanks for listening. Holler at your boys. Fuck it. I'm going to talk about the Filmmakers first because I have a couple things.
All right.
So this is, once again, this is Wrong Turn. This was a franchise from, I guess, the aughts, right?
Yeah, I think the first one came out like 2002, 2003, right. And they've just been ongoing since then, up to like 6, I think they did.
Wow. Yeah. So it's like a 20-year-old franchise. I feel like the first 2 installments were solid and culturally relevant. You know what I mean? They're kind of hallmarks and horror and everything. I really like part 2. That's the David Lynch film. I think
Joe Lynch.
Who's David Lynch?
David Lynch is Twin Peaks.
Oh, wow. Okay. David Lynch did Wrong Turn Part 2. That'd be amazing.
Would be amazing.
So Joe Lynch, did Wrong Turn Part 2, which I think at some point we should review for this show as well. That's a really fun one.
Yeah.
But I don't have any inkling past that. I don't believe that I ever have watched any of the other sequels leading up to this one.
Right. I watched the third one.
Yeah.
And after that, I said, no, I'm good.
Kind of low rent, straight to video.
It was a rough watch. I mean, I couldn't honestly sit here and critique it because it's been so long since I watched it. But I just remember after watching it, just being like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. So I just remember it had something to do with like prisoners and the guards, and like maybe like they were doing a why can I not think of the word?
Experiment?
No, where you move.
Transport.
God damn. Yeah, they were transporting prisoners, and I think maybe the bus crashed or something. They end up in the woods, and then
so it's like inmates versus inbred hillbillies type of thing.
Yeah.
Which I guess that's something we should note is the Wrong Turn franchise. The baseline of it is out-of-towners versus cannibalistic inbred. I guess mutants would be the appropriate term. They're not really rednecks. They're more just like monster. I guess they're a personification of what people feel like the South is. Mutant inbred people.
Just like cranked to 11.
Yeah, that are cannibalistic. And this is a retooling of that from the same writer of the original Wrong Turn. So the writer is Alan McElroy, who wrote the original Wrong Turn. He also wrote Halloween 4. So he's been around for a while.
Yeah.
Any guesses where he's from? Not the South.
I was gonna say like New York or something.
Cleveland.
Okay.
Cleveland. So
yeah,
but kind of flyover-ish. So
Yeah,
a little bit of grounding.
Cleveland, Ohio. They got those delicious Grippos. Have you ever had Grippos?
I don't know
chips?
what that is.
Oh my god, they're like the best barbecue chips you've ever fucking had.
Do you have to travel to Cleveland to
No,
get them?
you can actually. I used to order them all the time offline. You can order them off the Grippos website. Every once in a while, you'll find them around. They also sell them in Kentucky, and you'll find them every once in a while around here. But I always just would order them off the Grippos website, and they're so good.
Adam Troutt, fueled by Grippos.
Because my sister's ex-boyfriend, he's from Cleveland, Ohio, and he told me about them. And initially brought me some, and my life was changed for the better.
Well, no doubt, Mr. Alan McElroy has had some Grippos.
Oh, he loves them too.
Being a Cleveland native.
I'm sure.
Another tidbit I might cut because I don't know how this is going to come across. He's a black man. So I thought that was kind of interesting that a Cleveland-based black man wrote a franchise about mutant, murderous rednecks and being scared of being in the South / the woods.
Yeah.
So there might be a little bit of psychological stuff going on there and dealing with some issues maybe. But ultimately, he wrote just like a fun, silly franchise starter. And he decided, let's go back to the well. It's been, almost 20 years. And let's retool it. I've got an idea. And he had kind of a new angle on it that would be more modern and everything.
I wonder, I don't know if you know, did he initially write it specifically to be a Wrong Turn like sequel or remake? Or was this just another idea he had? And then they're like, let's do a Wrong Turn remake.
It might be a little from both columns, but from what I understand, it was a pitch as a Wrong Turn kind of reboot or retooling and everything.
All right, yeah.
And I don't know enough about it, but I'm sure he saw the sequels and was like, let's take it in a new direction. It's still a name, it's still an IP. That's still a big thing right now is remaking IPs.
Yeah.
The director of this movie is Mike P. Nelson, and he did a movie called The Domestics from 2018.
With, what's that, Bosworth or something like that, I think? Kate Bosworth, I think she's in it.
Oh, is she really?
I think.
It looked
I'm not
kind of interesting.
but I think it was her in it, and I forget who else. I've seen the poster and stuff, where I've never actually watched the movie.
I looked at the trailer, and it's kind of like an action horror survival type of thing, apocalyptic style a little bit. It looked interesting. So this is only second feature, I think.
Okay.
He is also not from the South, which is okay. I'm not. This is not a criticism. This is just something I think it's kind of interesting to know the DNA of the filmmakers and the people in front and behind the camera if they're making a Southern themed, horror film.
Right.
I'm just going to put this out there. All the major players in this none of them are from the South. None of the actors, none of the lead actor, Jennifer, the character's named Jennifer. Her name is Charlotte Vega. She's from Madrid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She's she speaks Spanish fluently as well. Huh. But anyway, no one is from the South, and this was not shot in the South either. This is shot in Ohio.
Really?
Which is a theme.
Yeah.
I feel like so many movies right now are set in the South, but some reason are shot elsewhere.
Right.
And I'm not sure if that's a political thing, because things are a little dicey in some southern areas, so maybe filmmakers don't want to bring their business there, or if it's just a logistics thing. I think in the case of X with New Zealand, I think that was a logistics thing.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder, because, it could just be, like you said, maybe it's just because Ohio is not exactly known for being, a filmmaking town.
Yeah.
And so maybe it's just, when you look at Louisiana, Georgia, they're packed to the gills with production. And so to get in is almost impossible, and you have to have money. So maybe Ohio is just Ohio would be cheap, Yeah. I don't know.
And for what it's worth, the wilderness segments look terrific.
For sure.
It definitely it's a great shooting location for all that stuff. And when they do go into the town proper, that's supposed to be rural, or not rural, but it's supposed to be Virginia. Well, I guess it's kind of rural.
Yeah.
It's Virginia. And I think they do a pretty good job of making it look somewhat Southern.
Yeah.
A little bit stereotypical in some cases.
There was nothing that was like super noticeable where I was like, kind of like when we did Death Proof, you could clearly tell that wasn't, the like Tennessee at those parts. Nothing in there was like, made me look at it and go like, wait a minute, it was all passable. I felt.
I feel that way too, although, and I guess we're going to start getting into the plot of this a little bit, but all the Confederate flags and stuff I thought was a little excessive.
Oh yeah,
it's tough for me to believe. I mean, we live in Tennessee, and the Confederate flag is even kind of receded quite a bit here. Like, it's pretty rare to go into a business and they have Confederate flags now. I mean, that's...
Yeah, like I see them when I'm driving around just on personal property, but you go into businesses, you unless it's like, I don't know, like a military surplus store or something maybe, but most businesses you go into, you're not going to see Confederate flags roaming around.
So yeah, like I think it's a pretty rare thing, but I'm speaking from ignorance a little bit because I'm not exactly going to a lot of shit kicker bars looking for Confederate flags.
Yeah, I can think of a few out sort of in the sticks area that probably have them for sure, but most of the ones you would get like in most of the areas of Tennessee. I don't want to say like in the big cities, 'cause we don't live in a big city, but comparable to some of like the real small towns, you're not going to find them in those bars or anything like that.
I just felt like sometimes it felt like shorthand filmmaking was basically like, we want to code these people as bad people, so we're throwing in a Confederate flag here and there just to kind of make sure these people are dangerous and not good. Yeah. So it just kind of felt, and Southern, frankly, you know what I mean? So in the year 2021 / the 2020s, that is definitely Front Street. These are bad guys. Yeah. So anything that happens to them is okay. If we kill them mercilessly, it's fine.
I mean, really, if you've seen a wrong turn, you kind of know it. You got a bunch of kids who are going. They're just traveling on the road, I guess, going to different spots to go hiking and everything. They end up in this small town, and things go south when they get out in the woods.
The main couple is Jenny, right? Jenny and Darius,
something like that.
They have big plans for eventually. Darius is like a city planner, and he has this great idea for creating a community where everyone works with each other and everyone's equal, and money is kind of secondary and all this stuff. It's literally communism when he talks about it, but I mean, that's fine. That's, he's an idealistic young person. These young people and their feelings kind of clash with where they're headed, right? They go to Virginia for this hike in Appalachia, and they find themselves kind of like rubbing up against the locals in uncomfortable ways pretty quickly. Yeah. Like they stay at like a bed and breakfast type place.
That's what it looks like. Yeah.
And the lady's pretty rude to them right away.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I was not feeling this movie at first.
No.
I'm not gonna lie. It was just like bombardment of cliche after cliche. Like starting off at the very beginning with the whole cliche, let's show the car ride up and let's meet all the characters in one easy spot and have everybody talk and see how well they vibe together. And it's been done 1,000 times, and stop with the fucking car scenes in movies. Like, find more interesting ways for us to get to know the characters and understand who the characters are. But then you go, like you said, you go right into every single person that's in the South in this movie is just like an asshole to him. And it's like ominous throughout. Soon as a Southern person comes on screen, the music kicks in like, oh, this might be a bad person. Oh, this is who's gonna get them.
It's funny, man, because like there's some cultural stuff that people look at with the South that is totally coded as evil when it's to me, wholesome. Like when they're driving through, they see someone has mounted a deer to the hood of their car that they've hunted or whatever, and like the music once again is like, you know what I mean? It's like horrifying or whatever, and it's like they're hunters. They hunted. like to me, that's not bad. Like that's a totally normal thing and a good thing, and especially depending on how you're doing it, it's a good thing. And it's weird to me how that is from the outside seen as like these people are vicious or whatever. Right. I guess it's just showing you it's a different world, obviously. Yeah.
But I mean, it's you're just bombarded with everything is bad. All these people are bad. It's and like you were talking about, I got a lot of vibes from this with like the new Texas Chainsaw, and that just kind of like these damn Gen Zers with their idealistic views, we gotta squash that by murdering them. Right. And I don't know, it really rubbed me the wrong way starting out. I was just like, I was like, why are people loving this movie? It's just one cliche after another.
You're talking about The Wrong Turn? Or
Sorry. The Wrong Turn. Yeah. Texas Chainsaw I thought was fine. It was fun. Yeah, it was just, with Wrong Turn, just every single beat of it was just everything around you is evil. It almost seemed like they're setting up that they're just in a town full of murderers or something.
Well, how'd you feel about the bar scene? Tell us about that a little bit.
You talking about the one where they get into it with the dudes? Yeah. Again, it just felt very cliched. That the whole thing of, the outsiders get into it with the locals.
The lead redneck. He's kind of an older gentleman. Yeah. The actor's name is Tim DeZarn. And he was in Cabin in the Woods. He had a similar character in Cabin in the Woods.
He was the one at the gas station at the beginning.
Right, that kind of warns them.
I remember that. Yeah, he's the one that speaks all ominous, and then they just laugh at him about it. Yeah, I remember. Oh man, I forgot all about that. That is him.
So he's played a couple of kind of hallmark Southerners now, and he is also from Cincinnati, so not a Southerner. Co-opting us, but he's very hard on these young people. I mean. And I've kind of forgotten already who started it, but I think that the kids are kind of talking shit a little bit, and he overhears it, and he comes over and confronts them, basically. And
well, you got the one dude is kind of talking shit, and the other one's like, shut the fuck up. Right. But he still hears it, comes over here, and kind of starts giving them shit and stuff.
We haven't really talked about the fact that this group is pretty diverse. I mean, to include... a gay couple. So I mean, there were moments where I was like, I'm really surprised that this group of people would even want to go here. I mean, it's kind of cool that they were open-minded enough to go, but then as soon as they get there, they're like, they're already on guard very much and everything.
Well, I mean, you heard the music; they had to be.
I need to layer in some kind of like ominous music. But yeah, I mean, they have this confrontation with these guys, but they eventually kind of get out of it with one of the kids is either a med student or already becoming a doctor. I've forgotten. Yeah. But she basically cuts this man down by saying, hey, you have yellow eyes. That's a sign of all these different medical problems. You need to get that checked out. And that kind of like cuts him down to a point where he kind of shifts down a gear and just basically tells them, hey, be careful on that mountain. I mean, on those hills, because there's all kinds of stuff out there. Yeah. Stay on the trail. And they've heard that from an innkeeper as well. Basically, stay on the normal trail. Don't go outside of it at all. And sure enough, when they get there, they decide to go off the trail. Yeah. Yeah. Like, that's their wrong turn.
That's where they made the wrong turn.
Yes.
As soon as that, that tree starts falling down the hill, I was like, okay, this is interesting. Where are we going from here? Yeah. And from that, it kind of pulled me in and won me over a bit.
Do you want to kind of say how you felt about the movie as a whole before we get into like spoiler territory and stuff like that?
Yeah, we can do that. overall, I thought it was a good watch. It was interesting. It was. I liked the new take on it. I thought that was cool. Instead of just going like with most remakes, it would have just been like, here's more cannibalistic inbred mutants. So the fact that they didn't do that, and while I still have my problems with it, I thought overall it was a solid, interesting movie.
It's kind of, I mirror you in a lot of ways here. I was frustrated with it for a while, and then there's enough turns in this film that it did win me over. And sometimes there's so many turns towards the end that it becomes almost like a farce, because there's so many turns towards the end of this movie that it really heightens this up a little bit. And in some ways, it almost becomes like a trilogy in one movie.
Yeah.
Like it shifts gears so many times that it becomes different movies altogether sometimes. But yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. I would maybe skew towards wait for it free on streaming, like on a service that you're already subscribed to.
I know it's on I have Showtime, and it's on Showtime right now. So if you have Showtime, check it out. Or if you just want to watch this movie, I'm sure they got like a week free or whatever.
Right.
Just subscribe, watch it, watch some Yellow Jackets, watch whatever else
Exactly,
they got. The new Dexter, binge a bunch of stuff and then cancel or whatever.
I hesitate to recommend this with spending money on it. I feel like it's not quite to that standard, but worth a watch.
Yeah, for sure.
If it pops up on a service that you have or whatever, it's worth your time, just maybe not your money.
For sure. I mean, I guess we could start right from that point, the log rolling down the hill. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be, was like that deliberate. And
it's ambiguous.
That is pretty ambiguous, but that's the kind of turn where everything goes bad.
And this is a gigantic log, by the way.
It looks like a fucking tree.
This is like Ewok-style attack, where it's like a huge log, rolls down a hill, squashes one of our heroes. We see his mangled body. It's very brutal.
Yeah.
And
pretty gnarly smash in face.
And he's one half of a couple, so his lover is really upset and freaking out. They desperately are trying to find the real trail again. And
of course, just like with any cliche, that's another one of those cliches. Yeah. They're instantly lost and don't know where they're going.
Right.
It's a little bit of that kind of cliche thing where it's a lot of bickering and stuff. But there is some cool, like, tense moments where you kind of see these, they see like someone behind a tree, or you kind of just see a camouflage like person, like not camouflage like hunter camouflage, like I'm talking deep, like basically you're a tree.
Yeah, like some of these people look like Groot. Just kind of walking around just like straight up trees. Yeah. I mean, like first night when they camp, they end up having all their cell phones stolen, so there's not even any hope of, even if they get a signal, of reaching outside help. And then eventually, and they find out when they camp out that night, they discover that they're on a grave, like a cemetery. An old school
they
cemetery.
wake up the next morning.
And they find like a landmark that basically commemorates the founding of a new, basically city-state in 1859. So it's pre-Civil War. It's people that saw the writing on the wall, saw that there was probably going to be a civil war, and decide, we don't want to be any part of that. We're starting our own civilization out here in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And the kids are like, wow, that's crazy. And that's, it's kind of the end of it. But while they're out in this area, they encounter all these like traps, and it's a little ambiguous as to whether they're animal traps or if they're traps for humans to get rid of outsiders or whatever. It's a little back and forth.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they could be kind of, both. I guess.
I think that's just a great assessment. Yeah.
Whoever it needs to get, whoever comes across of it doesn't need to be here, whether it's a human or it's food for us,
It's, I mean, they're also incredibly dangerous that they might as well be for humans. You know what I'm saying? Because it's definitely to kill. It's not to like maim or trap or whatever to get meat. It's to straight up kill something.
Yeah.
So
except for that one,
the chain. Yeah. Right.
That, I guess that one was, but I mean that's it. Yeah, like the rest, you're getting murdered for sure.
what did you think of? So one after they wake up in the morning, one of the characters is gone.
The doctor
character, and they're like, we don't know where she is. They assume she's been abducted.
Because they're yelling for her and all
Right.
that, and she's not responding. So they're like, someone took her.
Right. And the female lead thought she saw someone that evening through the tent. So she speculates, oh my God, she got abducted by these people or these weird people in the woods. And they're searching and they're getting, the heightened tension and everything. And one of the boys gets dragged by a chain into a hole. And it's a pretty intense scene when they're trying to save him and try to pull him off this chain as he's being slowly dragged into this hole. That kind of leaves it where there's only like 3 people left at a certain point where I was like, damn, they've already like eliminated all these people. I thought it was pretty interesting that it got that quick. But eventually they catch up with the guy that got dragged away by the chain and find him being I don't know how to describe it.
It's almost like he's on a spit roast.
These 2 clad in crazy like cult bones.
Bones and very earthy bones. Like I guess plants, grass, trees. Just of the earth type garb. They're clad in it, carrying this dude. He's basically tied up on I guess like a log. Not log sounds like it's huge, but just like a big stick, I guess. Almost, but like almost like on a pig on a spit roast type thing. Yeah. And they're carrying him just through the woods. And that's when, what was his name?
Darius.
Yeah. Runs out there to try to confront him. And of course, these people are speaking this language to them that our protagonists that speak English don't understand.
Have no clue what they're saying. Yeah.
And so they're going back and forth, and that's when the guy who apparently is somehow not tied up to the thing anymore. I don't know. I didn't quite understand that.
I forgot how he got out of it actually, but yeah,
because he just stands up in the background,
right
behind them, and starts wailing on them, beats one of them to death
with a log.
Yeah, and then the other one runs off.
Right,
and that's kind of when that's kind. It's almost like I don't know. I was gonna say like that point in Deliverance when they murdered the guy, and everybody's kind of like, because he thinks that they were gonna kill him, and they killed his girlfriend, the doctor woman, but then she just shows up out of
She's
nowhere.
Like, hey guys, what's going on?
Hey.
Right.
She's like, you killed him?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
And then
killed him.
the lead woman, she is like, did we just kill this man for no reason? You killed this man for no reason. Yeah. You killed him. You did. It's so like,
this
damn,
is on
like,
you.
Yeah.
I got nothing to do with it.
Right.
I'm out.
It was so like, I'm like, well, I was watching it and I was like, listen, even if he did kill this person, like, theoretically for no reason, I mean, every step of the way is antagonism.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't they think that they're threatened and need to do whatever it takes to survive at that point? I mean, they've encountered a lot of shit at that point. So it's a really strange thing, I think, for one of the people in the group to speculate, oh, we maybe killed this person for no reason, and it's like they kind of earned it a little bit.
I mean, come on now. You gotta see a little bit. Sometimes it's best to, act first and then ask questions later. But, especially considering they're not speaking English to you, they're speaking, I don't know, this made up language that they have, the language of the woods. I guess.
I went back and forth as to whether that was. I should have looked that up, I guess. If it was a completely fictional language or if it was like Dutch or something. Because I know some of the early settlers.
Like European type, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and honestly, I think from there we maybe shouldn't do just a
beat for beat.
Yeah, because that's going to get a little harsh. But
I mean, it eventually gets to the point where they're still trying to get out through the woods, fighting through these traps, because I think another one of them gets killed by a trap. They eventually come across...
The doctor, she falls into that pit.
That's right.
Yeah.
At that point, they know they're pretty sure they're being hunted.
Yeah.
And Jennifer comes across this little girl in the woods, and one that she had seen earlier in the town, and she tries to get her like, "Hey, come here," and then is it Darius? He comes up and starts chasing the girl, and at that point they ended up basically running into I guess like they get caught by these people. We get introduced to who these people are.
Yeah, I mean this is definitely when,
and I guess the twist from what's different from the original Wrong Turn.
Right, these aren't cannibalistic mutants. This is sort of a cult or a society that lives in these hills called the Foundation. That's what they call themselves. And they have like a fully functional society within these walls of their little village.
Basically, you could just almost think of it like early settlers that never progressed in any way.
Yeah.
That's the only way I could kind of put it.
It's almost like a mishmash of what I guess the early settlers and trappers and the early Native American indigenous people, like if they combined, that's kind of what the society would have been, sort of.
For sure.
There's people living off the land and kind of living by their own standards and everything. No outsiders. They have their own working, I guess, court.
I get like
sort
their
of
version of it. Yeah,
it's kind of a kangaroo court in the sense, because apparently the only two sentences are death or what do they call it, darkness.
Yeah.
Right. So you either get killed or you're sentenced to darkness, which is revealed to be having your eyes burned out of your head, and forced into like a kind of a long dark hallway of caves,
which seems kind of, I mean, you're already blinding them. What's the point of the dark room?
I guess it's just symbolic before you get your eyeballs knocked out. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's very brutal though. Very rough sentencing standards in this court.
Yeah, because basically they end up in the court because they're gonna sentence what's left of these kids because the one guy killed one of them, and of course do you know the main dude's? Like, I
do.
I guess the judge type dude.
His character name is Venable. Which is kind of strange, but
yeah. So you got Venable, who I guess is like a high priest or whoever you want to. He's like the head of he seems to be the head of this whole foundation, and they're putting these people, the ones that are left, on trial because the one guy killed one of them, and so. That's where we're at that point, is when we discover that they do actually speak English. At least he does. I know a couple of them kind of speak a little bit of English, like that one woman did too.
Who is her name, by the way? Her character name is Edith, and her name is Daisy Head.
Really?
She is the daughter of Anthony Head, who is Giles
from Buffy
the Vampire Slayer.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So she is once again someone born in England, playing an in the hills Virginian, but that's okay. We're not worried about it. She does a great job.
Yeah, she does good, and I guess by this point, who we're meeting now, these aren't quote unquote what you would stereotype as Southern or rednecks or anything like that.
Their own society. Yeah.
We are treated to their trial process.
Yeah.
Which is not...
It's pretty fun. I mean, it's... Yeah. One of our characters is sentenced to death, and he is executed in the same manner in which he killed one of their people. He has his face mercilessly smashed in with a log.
Yeah.
Very brutal. And the other three remaining characters are sentenced to darkness, which again is having their eyes burned out and shoved into this cave. And one of the three is... The sentence is carried out. They burn out his eyes. It's very brutal and horrifying. And he's shoved into the cave. And as they're about ready to do it to our main couple, Darius and Jennifer makes like a last second plea of like, hey, you don't have to do this. We're useful to your society. Don't kill us. Don't do this to us. Because I don't know that she understood how severe it was until it happened to one of her friends.
Right.
I think she thought maybe they were just going to be thrown into this hallway.
Yeah.
But she sees that they're horribly maimed in the process.
Yeah. She offers Darius as a strong, he's a strong young man that can work, and be a good hunter, and she offers herself as a childbearing bride.
Well, she does mention that Darius is like a city planner and
Yeah,
can help,
yeah,
like,
that's true.
build structures and maintain structures and stuff, that he has usefulness in that way.
Right. He has that organization.
How would you feel about her offering herself as just like a concubine, basically?
Yeah, I mean, you would think she would have some. Maybe she just in her head was like, "This is all they're gonna care about me
That's
for."
true. That's fair.
Because she's like in her 20s, beautiful woman. So she's like, "This is what they're gonna want."
And it's an interesting scene after she does that. They inspect her almost like you would a horse.
Yeah.
They look her in the mouth and need to look at her privates and the whole 9 yards or whatever, I guess, to make sure she actually is a viable child bearer and everything. Yeah. And she is instantly matched up with the leader. I mean, it's just like,
it's very cultish in that, like, oh, I guess I could use a wife. I don't know.
He's like, my wife fell down and killed herself. That is how you die in this society, is old age or injury.
Yeah, pretty much.
Now I need wife.
Now you'll do. Come on.
Yeah. Well, we haven't even mentioned, by the way, that this is intercut with Matthew Modine, who is the father of Jennifer.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And him trying to track down what the hell happened to his daughter, because she's been missing in his timeline for several weeks.
Right.
And, he goes to the town and he's just on the trail. So we're kind of intercut with this story of this, older father trying to find her. And that's where, after Jennifer offers herself up, it shifts gear to kind of be Matthew Modine's story for a little while.
Yeah.
And it follows him a little bit more closely. And it's wild because that's almost the sequel. Like, I feel like it almost becomes part 2 at that point.
Yeah.
Make a long story short, Matthew Modine makes his way out there, meets up with his daughter. And after his guides are horribly killed very early.
Super quick.
It's pretty great.
Because it's the same sort of thing that, like, he's just instantly getting into it with the locals and everything, except for the one. I don't know what the trigger is, but the woman, he stays at the same bed because he's like, my kid stayed here, I'll just stay here, and she's the one that kind of helps him. The woman that runs the bed and breakfast. I don't know. They just connect, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm do what I can to help you." She gets him in touch with the hunters and trackers that prove no use whatsoever.
Completely useless. He pays them $5,000 to guide him out there, and they get killed by a booby trap. 5 minutes for us. I don't know how long it was for them.
Yeah.
But it's very quick for us.
Super quick. They're gone.
But Matthew Modine does make his way there very carefully. He is captured by the Foundation, and he is sentenced to darkness for trespassing. That's how quickly, he just wandered there and was like, I just want to take my daughter home.
Yeah.
And they're like, trespassing, darkness, just immediately.
Yeah, because I know the first time when the kids were on trial, Venables says, well, we weren't going to harm you, but y'all harmed one of us, so we got to harm you. And then he comes and it's like, no, we're still going to harm you. It's quickly, there was no saving any of this.
Yeah.
They try to play it as they're more, I guess,
almost like sophisticated.
Yeah.
Because the leader even makes that point at a certain instance, like where he's like, I know of your world and all the bad things you guys do.
Right.
How are we worse than you? But I mean, judging by their court system alone, there's already issues with their society. So
yeah, for sure. But yeah, so the dad shows up and quickly is sentenced to darkness, wherein he is then struck by an arrow and thrown into a hole. Basically,
yes,
that's basically what happened.
Yeah,
and that was another point where I mean it's a little just kind of gripey, but. She's been there a few weeks, and now she's a crack shot with a bow and arrow.
Oh, that's a great point.
That is not an easy weapon to fire.
I mean, unless I'm mistaken, it's been roughly 6 weeks.
Yeah,
right. Or maybe a little bit more. But
I mean, it says like from the point. I mean, yeah, you could say maybe 7 weeks, because at the point when he starts we pick up his story. It goes back in time 6 weeks, and then we come to the present of when he finds her. So it's like 6, maybe 7 weeks.
Yeah.
And she's like a crack shot with a bow and arrow. Not only from, I mean, it was from pretty far away. She shoots him. And not only does she hit him, but she hits him exactly where she tended to hit him. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But again, that's kind of nitpicky, you know.
Well, that's what a little bit later it's revealed that Darius doesn't want to leave when she's planning to help her dad escape and get the hell out of there. Darius is like, I'll help you guys a little bit, but I'm not leaving. I'm staying here.
That was another thing that was weird. It's like, you're invested in the society after, because I mean, you got to think it's only been 6 weeks. At least the first 2 or 3 weeks, you're trying to figure out a way. How can I escape and make you're going to be fighting it. And then maybe you settle in like, okay, whatever. I guess I'm here for now.
Got to make the most of it.
Yeah. But 6 weeks and you're like, no, this is where I belong.
Yeah. He already has like a full beard, is in all the regalia, and is just completely assimilated.
He's in it.
Now, in fairness to the writer, early on, he basically stated he wanted to live in a society just like the Foundation on some level.
Yeah. But I don't think his involves so much murder. But
Right.
still, I guess you are right.
Yeah.
That is true. He did say this kind of the society he wanted to.
It's like a warped version of what he was talking
Right.
about, sort of.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe he's like told himself, this is good enough. This is what I want to do versus live a normal life. But yeah, Matt, I mean, again, cutting some of the fat here, Matthew Modine and Jennifer, they escape and they get to go back to the real world, settle into a normal life. It cuts to a couple months later, and she's working with her dad, and they seem so well adjusted and happy.
Everything was great.
And you think, well, I guess this is pretty much the ending. They might have a stinger or something.
Yeah.
And it's revealed that the cult leader has like tracked her down at her normal house in the suburbs.
I assume that he got the information from Darius.
Good, yeah.
That's
totally.
what I assume.
That's a good point, yeah.
But even still, like, you went through all this trouble to go find her?
Yeah, it doesn't make that much sense.
Like, why?
Because it also seems like Jennifer was going to be content just leaving it.
Yeah.
It's not like she was trying to get like the FBI to show up there and like ransack them or something like that. Like, it seemed like she just wanted to live a normal life, and Matthew Modine certainly was happy just doing his own thing. But yeah, like the cult leader shows up, literally is in her house wearing normal street clothes and everything, and he's masquerading as though he's going to move into the neighborhood. And Jennifer's family, like her stepbrothers and stepmother, are like eating with him at the table. It's just like a really funny, and I thought that was going to be the punch out. It was basically like, now we're here. What are you going to do about it? And it was going to like kind of zoom in on her face and just, that was going to be the ending. But no, there's like a solid 30 minutes left. It was wild. This is like the new Lord of the Rings. You remember how like Return of the King had like 26 endings? That's how this movie is.
I remember it. Yes, I remember it. Oh my God. But yeah. Yes, and she's also pregnant with his kid, which unless maybe he already knew she was pregnant, and that was enough for him to go track her down and everything.
Yeah, could be.
I don't know, maybe.
But I feel like I would be like, that's a loss. It's fine.
Yeah,
I'll get another woman here. Yeah,
I'll get another concubine. It's fine. It's no big deal. But yeah, and there's a really great like dream sequence, I guess,
kind of a fake out.
Yeah, where everybody's getting killed just left and right. It was pretty cool. But then, she ends up having to leave with him.
And it shows them like pack up into an RV, and she tells them,
because apparently they have RVs and shit too. So
they apparently have enough wealth to buy an RV / street clothes. I mean, I guess they bartered for that, maybe. Well,
I guess
that one character is selling
like the little jewelry
in
stuff.
Town, so maybe they have like a stash of like civilian money if they have to buy
if they ever
stuff.
need it. I don't know how much money they're pulling off like little jewelry like that, but
$10 a pop.
I mean, I guess.
But Jennifer basically makes a bargain. I'll go back with you, but please just don't come back to my family. Don't bother my dad. And the cult leader agrees to it. And it shows them driving away in the Winnebago or the RV. And again, feels like the ending. It feels like that's going to be the ending of the film.
There it is. Tragic end.
And I think the credits even start rolling, don't they? Or is it just
maybe
not quite?
Yeah, no, I think it's not quite there yet.
Yeah. but it feels like it. It feels like an end credits,
credits
shot.
is coming. Yeah.
It's the RV driving down the suburban road, and then what happens, Adam?
The RV starts erratically swerving and crashes, and then guys start running out as Jennifer proceeds to jump out and mercilessly slaughter them.
Yeah.
Just stabbing the hell out of them. It was crazy. And then her and what was the little girl's name? Ruthie or something?
Ruthie, yeah.
Yeah. She takes her by the hand and they just start walking down the road.
I feel like it's implied Ruthie has been kind of sympathetic towards Jennifer the whole movie. So I think it's implied that maybe she helped fight inside the Winnebago.
Maybe.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just walk away, and that's the official punch out. Was basically.
And it's like, are we done? Are we finally done? And it's like, okay, here you go, credits.
I mean, because there was a moment where I was like, when she negotiated with the cult leader and said, "Don't bother my dad, or don't come back to my family," and he agreed. I was like, yeah, but isn't this going to just start all over again? Wouldn't Matthew Modine just go
he's not going to let it go,
and maybe come with more people? And
he's going to come with forces.
It would be a really messy situation.
He knows what's going on now.
But yeah, they did even though we joke about how it's so many endings and fake outs. I mean, it was kind of a smart wrap up. Where it kind of felt like to me they implied if there's a sequel, it won't involve these characters. Right. I mean, they might go with the concept somewhere else, but I thought it was kind of cool how it was just kind of like officially closed with that last moment of her walking off.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of fun with all the fake endings. Even I was busting its chops a second ago. I did think it was really fun how it kept turning and turning.
It was when that dream sequence goes, I'm like, holy shit, what the fuck?
Because they're killing children in that dream sequence.
Everybody's
like her
dying.
brothers. Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, dream sequence. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then she's going off. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's a bummer. Oh, what? What's going on now? Is this another dream sequence?
It was cool. So kudos, I mean, to the filmmakers and everything for giving us something fresh with a reboot.
Yeah.
I mean, we joke, or I complain a lot about IPs and just never dying, and they keep regurgitating these IPs. But if you're going to do one, this is kind of a fun idea to kind of give us something fresh and at least try something different.
Yeah, for sure.
And still in the same wheelhouse where it's not like totally off the reservation.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I will say, because we kind of glossed over it, but also at some point with Modine's character, when he's out in the woods, some of these, because I was kind of shitting on the beginning of all the cliches, but it makes me wonder if all that was done on purpose, because all these locals end up coming to try to help Modine and everything get his daughter back and get out of the woods safely. Like, they come with guns and everything. And
I'm glad you brought that up, because that is actually a really cool turn by the writer, where basically that character does state, the heavy that's at the bar and everything.
Yeah.
He basically says, one of the things we do is kind of like, we try to be really mean to you guys so you'll leave and not go up on that hill. Because, I mean, in fairness to them, they probably try to tell them, hey, there are people on that hill that might bother you, and people just think that they're full of shit.
Right.
So maybe if they're just like super antagonistic, they'll just literally
be
scare
like,
them off where they won't.
Let's get the hell out of here.
So I mean, they do a nice job of kind of showing these characters are a little bit deeper than the stereotypes that were introduced.
So all those cliches from the start kind of seem like more like they had a purpose than just being lazy writing or anything like that. Yeah, I just want to point that out.
No, I'm glad you did, because we would have totally glossed over that point. Well, before we punch out, you want to give it a rating?
Yeah, I would like to. I think I would give this I'd give it a C.
Yeah.
I thought it was it's not like, I mean, I don't want to compare it to the first Wrong Turn just because they're vastly different movies, but I mean, it does have the same title. It is in the same wheelhouse. Like, the original, I absolutely loved. And this one, I definitely enjoyed it, but I give it a C just because I don't know how much replay value it has. I don't think I'm going to go back and watch this anytime soon.
Yeah.
I thought it was definitely enjoyable. I thought it had a lot of great twists and turns and interesting moments, and they had a cool take on a tired story, telling it anew and making it fresh.
For sure.
But I just don't know how much I'd be like, oh, I got to watch The Wrong Turn again. So
that's fair. I largely in agreement with you. I think I'd give it a B minus. I liked it a little bit more than you. Again, just for the turns and the wackiness. And even though sometimes it does feel like the movie takes itself a little too seriously, like it's a little heavy-handed sometimes. Like I feel like as a viewer, I didn't take it that way. Like I just took it as like fun silliness, and even sometimes like the heavy-handedness almost helped in that way. It was almost a comical sometimes to me,
right?
And it sort of amplified the camp for me sometimes. So I really enjoyed it and thought it was very fresh. Could have lost maybe 10 minutes out of this one. Overly long, but that might have just been because they had 5 endings at the end. So I kept expecting it to be over, and it kept going. So yeah. Soft recommendation from the Holler Kings.
For sure. Give it a watch. I definitely think it's worth a watch.
Check it out on streaming. Maybe don't spend money on it, perhaps. That's maybe a little vicious to say, but this is kind of how we feel.
Yeah.
So, Wrong Turn 2021. The Holler Kings say check it out. We like to end every episode of the Holler Kings with Holler at Your Boys.
Holler at your boys, yeah.
In which we just completely open topic. It can be anything.
Anything. Might be recommendation. Might just be a topic we have on hand.
It might just be stories from our past, which is the case this time. Since we're talking about Wrong Turn, I thought it'd be fun to talk about a time in our past where we took a wrong turn.
Yes.
Mine is really, really easy and quick. When I was a teenager, this is my late teens, the kids in the hall were traveling. They were doing like a live show, and I was a huge...
Did you see it's coming back?
Yeah, I did on Amazon. Yeah, I'm excited because I'm a huge Kids in the Hall fan, but I was really into them back in the 90s when I was a young person. And me and 2 friends drove up to Chicago to see them play live.
Oh, cool.
Because we were super into it, super excited. And Chicago was pretty scary and intimidating to us. We're rural Tennesseans in our teens driving up to Chicago, never been to a big city before. Because, I mean, back then, Nashville was a dinky city. It's expanded quite a bit in the past 20 years. So we were already a little on edge, and when we were driving out there, I fell asleep in the back seat. But I was sitting in between, so my friends were in, the front seat, the driver's side, and the passenger side, and I was in the back seat, kind of in between, like in the middle back seat, and I had dozed off, and it was nighttime, and I was startled awake by what I thought was like planes, trains, and automobiles style. I thought we had veered off the road and we were in oncoming traffic. Yeah. I thought a truck was about ready to come and hit us. So like I saw these headlights and I woke up and I freaked the fuck out. I was like, we're gonna get hit by a truck! Like, you know what I mean? Like I screamed and jumped up in between the two of them like, fuck! Like I almost grabbed the wheel style where I was like, we are going to die and I have to save us. And it obviously freaked them out. They were like, what is wrong with you? I mean, they were really pissed off at me. And I discovered that we were totally on the right. We were fine. We were 100% fine, driving normally. And they described it later. They were like, my friends were in the front seat and they were like, yeah, we had just had a lull in the conversation where it was like nice and quiet. There was like really, small radio, music in the background. So it was just like very peaceful. And out of nowhere, I woke up and was like, we're gonna fucking die! Like just really let it out. And they would not let me live it down for like a year. I mean, that was something that they bust my balls about, which totally understandable. But I think it was just because I was so heightened because I was excited, and also in Chicago, which at the time, now I've lived in Los Angeles and New York and El Paso. Like I've lived in some different types of places, so I don't think Chicago would be as intimidating now. But when I was a teenager, I was very on edge and excited. So I think I was heightened, and when when I saw that coming, everything came together.
Yeah,
and I made a wrong turn. So that's mine. What's yours?
I don't have a whole lot of really stories where like anything scary or anything like that happened. I mean, there was a time me and my friends went on a trip and we got chased by this truck driver that called us candy cane. Oh, no, shit, that's Joyride. Damn it.
I was about ready to be like, you downplayed this story quite a bit, sir. Like,
but, I mean, kind of, it's definitely horror related. I took a trip a couple of years ago with my kids, and we went and stayed at the Stanley Hotel, the one that The Shining is based off of.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, that was a really fun trip. Originally, it was supposed to be a lot longer. We were supposed to go to Centralia, Pennsylvania, I think is what it's called. I don't know if you're familiar with it at all. It's this. It's the town that the Silent Hill is based off of.
Oh, nice.
Where like it was an old mine or whatever that a fire started, and it's still burning to this day. And there's like cracks in the road and like smoke coming up and all this stuff. And basically, it's an abandoned town. And there used to be this strip of road that went through it that was, I forget what they called it, but it's like where a lot of people would go and paint like graffiti on and everything. But unfortunately, it's been like, that's all been covered up and it's been shut down. There's really not much, any access to the town anymore. So a lot of it was just covered up several years ago by, I guess, the city or, whatever adjacent city.
Yeah.
So we couldn't go there, but we still went to the Stanley Hotel.
Did anything spooky happen at the Stanley Hotel?
No, unfortunately, nothing spooky happened, but it was just cool to be in there and see, because, I mean, it wasn't like, I'm sure it's a lot different than it was in the 70s or 60s or 70s, whenever he wrote The Shining. But, I mean, it was still, it has the tone of the hotel is still kind of, it's very old time and stuff, because I don't know when it was built, but it still has a lot of the original, architecture and all that. But it definitely has a vibe about it, but it's such a beautiful, amazing place. And it's cool, like out front they have like a little mini hedge maze and all that. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Unfortunately we didn't get to stay in the actual hotel because it was already booked up, but we stayed on the grounds of the hotel, because they have the main hotel, and then like right kind of off to the side of it they have another set that's been more modern, that was built recently just so they could have more people stay there. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So we stayed in there, which was cool, because I doubt we had like a fridge and a stove and all that in there, which I doubt is in the actual rooms of the hotel. But we still got to go walk through the hotel and kind of check it out and all that. Nice. So
that's really cool. What'd your kids make of it?
They dug it. They hadn't seen The Shining or anything at that point, I don't think, so they didn't really know. But I kind of told them where it was from and all that. So, but I mean, they liked it. Cool. It was beautiful there too. God, it was.
And this was recent? This was just a couple years ago?
Yeah, it's like 2017, 2018.
Yeah, nice.
It's in Estes Park, Colorado. It's so crazy. Like, you're driving through just all this beautiful scenery of these, you're driving through the mountains and all that on these winding roads. And then it just kind of opens up to like this picturesque, like, it looks like a movie set. Just like if you think Colorado and it from a movie, this is what it was. You just drive in, like there's a lake around you, like a beautiful pristine lake, and people are jogging and walking everywhere and riding bikes, and there's just mountains all around you, and in the hills of the mountains there's like log cabins and all this. And you have the whole like kind of everything is like a mom and pop shop of like little restaurants and things like that, because it's a tourist town. It was amazing. It was gorgeous up there. So nothing really scary. But I could tell you about the time that I was coming back from. It wasn't really a big trip. I was just going up to Kentucky to visit some family, and I hydroplaned on the way back and almost died.
Oh, jeez.
That was pretty scary. But, I mean, luckily, it was funny because we were just sitting there going, and all of a sudden, nope, you're not on the road anymore.
Yeah.
Just like spinning in the median, like the grass median. And it was just like if we had went to the right, we would have went into cars. And just if it happened like maybe 20 feet up, there would have been a railing right there. We just happened it's hard to say at the right time because it's not, but it did. Having the right time, we just went spinning. My kids were asleep during the whole thing.
Oh, they didn't wake up at all?
Didn't wake up at all. Like, all of a sudden, I'm just in the grass spinning, and I see just everything flashing around me. And I see, like, a wall coming. And luckily, I mean, we wouldn't have hydroplaned if it hadn't been raining, but where it kind of would concave down, so like there was some water kind of sitting in there that helped slow us down because there was like a wall on the other side, so we stopped before we ended up hitting the wall. But yeah, it was pretty terrifying. Wow. But yeah, the kids slept through the whole thing. They woke up to like firefighters being like, "Are y'all okay?"
Oh,
so
someone had to like help you get out. Like,
no, I guess people saw it and called 911, and because they showed up not long after. No, I was able to, like, I drove the car home and everything. Like, everything was fine, but it was a terrifying experience. So, but anyways,
those are our wrong turns. As always, thank you to Hi-Fi for our music and theme.
Yes, thank you very much.
And thank you to our listeners for joining us. And Adam, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Until next time, holler at your boys.
Holla, holla now.